On this week's episode of the Crushing Debt Podcast, back to school shopping. So welcome back to this week's episode of the Crushing Debt Podcast. My name is Shawn, owner and founder of Yesner Law, and welcome to your financial coach and co-host, George Curbelo. How you doing, George?
I'm back from New York, and I think I've survived traffic jams and plenty of other things in New York that I just don't want to go back with. So I love New York City, love being born and raised in New York, but let me just say I don't think I will ever live or go back to the rat race that they call the city.
So, by the way, we typically record on a Friday, and then the show comes out Thursday. Did you see last night on television the Jets versus the Browns?
Oh, so during that time, I have to say, yes, I'm a Jets fan, so I'm excited to see us be able to at least get 5 wins this year. So it's going to be great.
Aaron Rodgers, you'll get 5 wins. Aaron Rodgers is good for at least 6.
Exactly.
So you'll get 5 wins this year.
I got to say, football back. I imagine, college is getting ramped up, getting ready as well. So.
College practices.
Yeah.
I know FSU started practice yesterday on Thursday on the same day.
Back to school. It's amazing. Yeah, I got to say, it's a lot happening in the month of August.
Yeah, which is kind of what we're talking about today. So I think what we wanted to do was put a real quick bow on the no spend challenge that we finished in July, which I think kind of leads into this week's topic as well. So how did you do in the no spend challenge, especially going out of town in the middle of it?
2 weeks in New York City, it is very difficult to not spend a lot of money because I feel like everything is marked up. But avoiding tolls really helped. So yeah, that was a few extra minutes. Kind of that convenience of paying the toll helped a lot. Then I realized, I thought the toll was it's $3.50 for the toll. No, it was $7. It was $7 per way. So I was literally ranking up like $14 every time I avoided a particular toll. On the Henry Hudson, if you know New York City. So that's I was able to do 300, surprisingly enough. It's just avoiding tolls. Again, I told you about the insurance earlier in the month where I was like, instead of 2 years, I did the one. Again, I wanted to do 2, but I figured all I needed was to renew for it. So I got a lot of those kind of things. What I saw was a lot of money, a lot of money around food. Food was the opportunity. Some of the collectibles, things that we don't need, but it was like, I like buying. It's like, makes me feel good.
Yeah.
Things for the kids, foregoing certain, like, hey, we're going to eat in to save money on going out. So that was the opportunities that we see, that I saw a lot in my no spend challenge this month.
Yeah. Food was a big one for me. And it was almost habit changing in terms of, instead of going out for lunch every day, I made my lunch. I think in the entire month of July, I might have had 2 business lunches outside of the office. And ironically, in both of those, the other party picked up the check. So
there you go.
I didn't spend a single dollar on eating out for lunch.
Well,
in
technically,
the entire month of
you
July.
Added that, right? Because even though they paid, you technically you need to add those.
I probably should. So all said and done, I think I was at like 140 and change. But I bet if I go back and I add back in those people that paid when we went out on networking lunches, if I add those back in, I might be close to 170, 180.
Yeah. Like I said, range. New York really allowed me to really pad my numbers there. So definitely wouldn't recommend that in a no spend challenge.
No.
But I got to say, again, right to the saving for the house, down payment kind of thing. So was able to kind of put it that way. And I think I'm making adjustments even this month. It's funny, you do the no spend challenge to really kind of emphasize that, but I think for me it's adjusting on, do I really need those collectibles, things like that, and also just the food wise, right? I think just eating in, my doctor probably would say that's a good idea.
Well, like I said, it's habit forming for me. So
right.
So I am probably going to continue to bring lunches every day.
Yep.
I just won't track it. What did you do with the money you saved?
Oh, I put it into the towards the house.
Towards the house.
That's what I did. Again, unfortunately that's the next big thing
Right.
that we're saving for is the down payment for the house. So every dollar counts now.
I ended up putting mine. So I've said before, when I go on vacation, I have a stash of cash in my house, and so I'll use that cash whenever we go on vacation. But I got to build it up every year,
Right.
and so the money that I saved went into that vacation fund, so to speak. So next time we go on vacation, I'll have some extra money.
There
to
you
spend.
go.
So
And we're hoping, again, feedback from folks. What did you do differently? What are you looking to anticipate when we do this again? Because yes, we probably should do
probably
this again.
should do it again. Question is when,
And
but
we'll
we
figure,
probably should do
figure
it
that
again.
and no more trips in between there, so I could actually be a little bit more realistic with my saving. But yeah, I gotta say it was definitely a nice humbling experience, but ready to kind of take those lessons into the next month.
Yeah. So speaking of lessons and spending money and no spend challenge and all that stuff, your kids are kind of at the end of the process. My kids are at the very beginning of the process. But as we record this and as you're going to be listening to it, it's back to school season.
Back to school season already.
Getting the kids out of the
Can't wait.
expletive house.
Like, please, you guys, I'm jealous of how much they not do all day.
Although it was fun. My kids, so my older son did a cooking camp.
Ooh, nice.
And ended up making guacamole and hummus,
Ooh.
pasta. He ended up tacos. He made all kinds of stuff.
Nice.
And when it was over, he got a discount on buying. It was a store. It's called Sur La Table is the store.
Mm-hmm.
And so not only do they have these cooking classes, and I think they've got a restaurant, but they've also got a store that sells the pots and pans and all that stuff. So he ended up getting a discount on anything in the store when the class was over. He ended up buying some cutting boards.
Nice.
And so now, and they're really nice wood cutting boards.
Right.
And he's been helping me cook now. He's
that's
getting
neat.
more interested. And so when I make breakfast or if I need something cut up, I'll give it to him. And
Nice.
absolutely, he starts cutting it up. And then my younger son took a rock guitar camp. And
Okay.
so it was a week-long camp, and at the end of the week, they played a song.
Okay.
He was basically strumming the guitar with like the equivalent of lip syncing.
Hey,
But
got to start somewhere.
whatever. I was a little disappointed that he didn't want to play the drums, but yeah, whatever.
It's okay. It's okay. Can't all be perfect.
It's okay. I'll be okay. So, but yeah, no, they are going back to school. We just did our back to school shopping about a week ago. We did all of
Right.
our back to school shopping for the boys. And so, one thing I thought we could talk about is if you are a parent, your kids are getting ready to go back to school, how do we save some money?
Well, hopefully you've done that already, because it's part of it too is having the budget that allows you to save for these types of events. Because we always go, oh my goodness, how am I gonna get the money to be ready for another school year? And yet our kids are 15 and we're like, we've been doing this how many years in a row? So that's one thing. But what do you think the national average would be for spending for back to school expenses?
I have no idea. I'm gonna take a stab and say $500.
There you go. So right now, the average, again, as of today, it's about $696 per year. For this year. That's what they're at
Per year per kid
per
or
family.
per family.
Per family. Average family spending. So now again, it doesn't say how many kids, 3, 4. On average, I would imagine buying notebooks. Things that you need for the classroom, but then there's other things like clothes and shoes because you got to look good and fresh on the first day. Come on now.
Although, so I will tell you, I grew up in Miami public school. We could basically wear whatever we wanted, so long as it wasn't, revealing or whatever. We could wear whatever we wanted. And right as I was getting done with school, there was talk in Miami-Dade County about putting in school uniforms.
Yep.
And I was totally opposed to it. You're not going to tell me what to wear, and I don't, blah, 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 blah. My son's going into middle school, and they have a school uniform. And I'm like, this is the greatest thing ever.
Thing ever, man.
Because I don't have to worry about building up. No, I got to buy him a wardrobe for, on the weekends and going out and, that kind of stuff. But I don't have to buy him a school wardrobe.
You don't understand. My daughter went to, private school, not expensive either. Let's not go crazy here, guys. But yeah, I think the uniform allows you to just go to school, not worry about what you're wearing, how you could just go worry about school. I went to private school, again, Catholic school in New York City. So again, let's put that in again. It's not private. We're not talking $30,000 a year, people.
Right.
It's just, but. High school, it was, first of all, it was an all boys school, so that tells, and we had to wear blazer and slacks every day to school itself. Now again, not a formal uniform kind of thing, but everybody was dressed the same. We didn't have to worry about what it is, what kind of style, what kind of make and
buying
wear,
the latest fashions,
nothing like that. It was just got to get to school. I need to have some type of outfit so that you don't go get we called it jug, that's detention. So yeah, there was no issues there, but yeah, it's that worry about how much do we need to spend on clothing, because kids outgrow the clothes as well. So it's like whatever you're wearing at the beginning of the year, you're probably buying it at mid-year again, doing something else.
We got my son's school uniforms, and again, school uniforms. So I had to go to we went to Target to get all of our school shopping done.
Right.
While we were there, he needed khaki pants or shorts, so I got him 2 pairs of khaki shorts. But then the school uniform is really either a green, black, or white polo with the school logo on it, and then for PE, black shorts and a school T-shirt. And so we could get, they can wear any shirt that is green, black, or white, as long as it's a collared shirt. It doesn't have to have the school logo on it. So I don't necessarily mean uniform in that way, but there are, like you said, certain colors I have to wear, certain styles I have to wear. So we got my son large, and we got him yesterday, and he put on the shirt. I'm like, dude, I can already see that it's getting small on you.
Jeez.
So
that's crazy.
Like, we're going to go out and buy some. But now I know, it's not, hey, go out and pick something. It's, hey, does this green shirt fit you? Great. Let's get 2 of them.
It's on sale.
That's all we got to worry about.
That's too funny. Well, you talked about the average per kid. So again, I just did a quick research itself. Yeah, it's we can spend $600 per kid on back to school needs. So the average, I believe, it can be $700, but it looks like some folks do at least $600 per kid on back to school needs. That's
I will tell you, because I just literally did it. It was $350 for both boys. And we got both boys new backpacks. We got one kid a new lunchbox. And then we got all the supplies.
What's on the lunchbox? I gotta be curious.
It's just it's like a camo. It's not like,
no.
It's not the lunch boxes that we used to have.
Come on,
it's just a little camo, soft-sided, whatever.
Gotcha.
But that's and then the school supplies, and the schools put out and they say for this grade level, this is what you need to buy, and so we went and bought it. Now here's the other interesting thing. So I got the law firm involved because one of the things that we're going to talk about later, or maybe we even talk about it right now, one of the ways to save money, many states, and I know Florida definitely has a tax-free, I think it's like a tax-free 2-week period.
Yep.
So if you get certain things, and in this case school supplies and office supplies basically, those things are tax-free until I think the middle of August-ish.
Yeah.
And so not only did I get supplies for the law firm at tax-free, but, for example, some of the stuff on the list, all the teachers want kids to bring in copy paper. So what I did was I had the law firm order an extra box of copy paper, and I'm going to give half the box to one son's school, half the box to the other son's school. So, yeah, it runs through the budget, but it runs through the law firm's budget, which means it's an expense of the law firm, which means it's tax deductible, which means hopefully the IRS isn't listening to me admitting to tax fraud on the podcast. But I also benefited the law firm because I went and I bought a whole bunch of supplies that the law firm needs, paper and pens and books and whatnot. But yeah, definitely, if your state has a tax-free weekend or tax-free week or tax-free time period, that's a great time to catch up and buy supplies not only for what your kids may need for school, but for what you may need, because you're not getting charged tax for that limited period of time.
And a lot of that applies to technology as well, not just the clothes, but to a certain limit. Of course,
Right.
every state has limits, but I definitely would say it's there's an incentive to buy, and that's where I think what makes it expensive is the clothing, and a lot of the kids today, everything is digital, so it's those technology that they need itself. Even if you get a Chromebook or something of that, you're still talking $200-$300 for those kind of devices.
So a little off topic, but my wife and I have been discussing over the last couple of days getting my older son, who's going to middle school, a cell phone.
Oh, that's
So-
so. What is the proper age for a cell phone?
Well, so you've been down this road.
Yeah, unfortunately.
When or have you bought your
Yeah,
kids?
the girls. Yeah, are you kidding me? My kids. We were strong armed on that one long time ago. I
At
think.
what age?
Well, so a lot of them. So we again, both parents working. We were concerned about the kids because they were coming off the bus, so we wanted the phone call. This is when we were again pre-COVID.
Right.
Everybody's out and about. We're all in the office, and I think both of my kids. It was, my youngest. I would say 11, 12, kind of around that age.
Yeah, my son's
very
turning
limited,
12.
very limited to the plan and obviously the type of phone. They didn't get the iPhone, 55 or whatever like that.
Whatever
at that
number
point.
we're on now.
Exactly. But we did get her, get them both something that can make phone calls and we can track them.
Right.
The life alerts and all that kind of thing.
Well, that's so, we're also getting into Cub Scout season, soccer season, all that kind of stuff. My younger son isn't really as hung up on a cell phone. My older son's like every day, can I have a cell phone? Can I have a cell phone? Can I have a cell phone? My younger son said, can we get some walkie-talkies? So when we go on these camping trips, we can still stay in touch. And the nerd in me is like, ooh, walkie-talkies. Yes.
I love it.
Yes, we can get walkie-talkies.
Walkie-talkies is the best little investment, and you can still stay in contact.
Yeah.
I especially again, you're in the same area. I agree. But here's the thing: is your oldest going to like the bus? Are you guys still dropping them off? Because my biggest concern was my girls were walking, from the school or the bus stop to home. We just wanted to make sure there was ways to be able to, hey, call us when you get home, kind of thing.
The interesting thing, the elementary school that my younger son goes to is less than a mile away, so we just drive him there. My older son, there is literally a middle school at the end of my block. My son could walk to the other side of my block, and he would be at middle school.
Nice.
But he got into an IB program at another middle school that's a more significant drive away. So we were able to get him on a bus, and it's not a county public school bus. It's a private bus service.
Sure.
But we were able to get him on that bus. That bus leaves from the neighborhood golf club, which is also like within 2 miles of the house.
Right.
So, and we hooked up with other parents that also have kids that are on that bus. So my younger son is going to continue to go to the rec center there in my neighborhood, the county rec center there in my neighborhood after school, which is connected to the school, so it's right there. The older son, we're going to carpool. So
Nice.
we're going to take, him and a couple of his friends to the bus stop, and then when he gets back from school, another parent's going to pick him up and bring them all to
That's important.
bring them all home.
Those are opportunities to be able to kind of share that responsibility, because that if you're doing that every day, trying to again do the lawyer thing that you do itself, and then still be able to, that's a lot to ask. So that's good.
I think
good idea.
The biggest thing for me was that even if I'm the one that has to pick them up from the bus stop, or even if I'm the one that has to be home when they get home, even if we do something like that, it's still the bus stop local in the neighborhood. I'm not sitting for 2 hours in the car line at the school.
Makes sense.
Waiting to pick them up. Yeah. So even though it might be a little inconvenient from time to time to make sure that I'm home in time, it's still a lot more convenient than sitting for 2 hours in the
Totally
pickup
makes
line
sense.
or drop
Totally
off
makes
line,
sense.
whatever it is. So what other, getting kind of back on topic, what are some other things that we can do? So I don't know if I don't remember if I said this before. I spent $350
Yep.
on both kids. So what are some other I mean, I can tell you some ways that I did it, but what are some other
I mean,
tips?
as anything, you need to have a plan. I mean, a lot of us just go to the store and thinking like, okay, we'll figure out what we need when we get there. And unfortunately, that pretty much puts us in a position where we're actually spending a little bit more than we need. Right. Again, what's the needs? What's the wants? We had that conversation. Still applies to when we talk about, you know, having a plan with what we want to spend. What do we need day one for school? You know, so you need your supplies, get that. You need a few outfits, probably get that. Again, do you need the tech, you know, and the technology day one? Maybe that's something that goes mid-year. You know, to kind of make a debate there.
Honestly, my kids didn't need new backpacks. So if
wow.
you're really on a tight budget,
Let's talk to the kids about that. Yeah,
I know.
You're right. Using the backpacks again. These backpacks are made to last. But I think a lot of even my daughters, they're like, no. I want something new. It's part of the outfit. They want something to. So I get that. But you're right. If you're strapped for cash from that perspective, I would say, yeah, you know what, reusing some of the backpacks, maybe some of the other your neighbors or friends, family who have kids that maybe have some lightly used backpacks as well. There's opportunities there to be able to save on that budget too.
And one of the other tips that I saw was to look around for what supplies you already have. So, and that's something that I do here at the law firm. Every lawyer that I know on the planet, except maybe me, has pens branded with the law firm name.
Right.
And so people have said to me, how come you don't have law firm branded pens? And I say, well, number one, nobody really remembers, you know, because when the pen runs out of ink, you toss it. Right. So you may remember as you're using it. Number two, I don't have to buy pens because every lawyer I know gives me one of their pens. I have never bought pens. I haven't bought pens in...
Mr. Networker here is yeah, that makes sense though.
I use everybody else's pen. Why do I have to buy one when they're all giving me their own pens? But one of the tips that we saw for back to school is, you know, use what you've already got. If you've got an inventory of pens, heck, if you have an inventory of old logoed pens for your business, I'm sure your kid's teacher would love to take that and probably give that to the kids. I remember when I sponsored the crew golf tournament, and I'm going to do it again this year, we had printed up a whole bunch of koozies with the law firm logo on it. And so one day my son's teacher came home and said, we need some koozies. I went, great. I gave the whole classroom koozies with the law firm logo on it.
Oh, my goodness.
Now, I know that, you know, kids aren't going to drink too many beers at a time, but
we hope not.
But, you know, for their waters and juices and all that kind of stuff. So, you know, what do you have around the house that you can repurpose? Now, again, you know, you don't want to give the kid a pen that's been, you know, worn down all the way where it's, you know, 2 centimeters before you get to the eraser.
Yeah, a pencil, you mean? Yeah,
a pencil, right? Pencil. Sorry, that it's, you know, that it's a couple inches below the eraser. But if you've got new stuff laying around, if you've got extra stuff from last year, that's less you have to buy for because pencils don't go bad. Paper doesn't go bad. So one of the other tips that I saw was buy in bulk.
Yep.
And so interestingly, one of the things that the teachers wanted was wipes and tissues, especially post-COVID, wipes and tissues.
Yep.
Well, I can get wipes and tissues at the bulk store at Costco for cheaper, and they're not going to go bad. And eventually, one of my Petri dishes is going to get sick, and we're going to need tissues at home.
Makes sense.
So you can buy in bulk. You can save money that way.
No, I would say buy in bulk as well. Like go in with a friend, family, where you can buy a ton of notebooks, a ton of supplies. They do sell those at, you know, office supplies, even though they can be used for school, and split them. You know, like again, save. There's a way to opportunity there for saving if you do buying in bulk for some of those supplies as well. So,
right.
Yeah, I love it.
What are some other tips that you've got? I
mean, I think, you know, when it comes to clothing, once again, I think when you have younger kids, you have to be careful with like, oh, we're going to buy all the clothes for the year. We're going to, because they grow. Yeah. You know, these kids, they grow throughout the year itself. I mean, so I think it's just, what do you need for day one? What do you need for the first, maybe, you know, semester, again, first few months? And then figuring out like, you know, when you get to the mid-year, like what else do we need to finish the year? You know, again, kind of off topic, but one thing that I'm kind of laughing about here is I remember when my older son was born. He was born in October, so very close to Thanksgiving and Christmas, and you know, pretty much right at the start of fall and winter time, and people would buy him
warm clothes. I'm like, well, number one, they'd buy him winter clothes. And I'm like, well, number one, we're in Florida. So Florida's winter is
Right.
like 2 weeks in January.
Yeah.
But number two, by the time this stuff fits him, we'll be into the spring and summer. I'm not going to put him in a big coat. So I definitely agree. You don't have to buy everything right at the beginning of the year. Number one, it may not fit. Number two, they may not need it. Number three, they may outgrow it. So definitely. One of the other tips that I saw, the dollar store. Now I went to Target, but I just as easily could have gone the dollar store, Five Below. I had an issue here at the office where one of our one of the computer mouse, what computer mice, computer mices, one of the mouse in the office for one of the computers died. And so I went to Best Buy, $19-20. I went to Five Below, $5.
Yeah.
So there's other stores you can
shopping. I think that's discount shops, dollar stores, thrift stores. Look for opportunities in any of these to be able to do that. The other thing too is buy generic. We talk about like, do I need again? What was the big thing back in the day? Was I had to get the Trapper Keeper. I had to.
I had Trapper Keepers.
I had to have the Trapper Keeper.
I had
back
Trapper
in the
Keepers.
Day.
Oh, good Lord.
So yes, unfortunately, this is how aging ourselves a little bit here, but
PTSD.
These are the little things. Like, do the kids really need? It's fancy. Maybe it's a nice little device or something that they want. But again, these are the practical tools that they need to be able to go to school and actually do the things that they need to do at school. Probably not. So
Probably not.
Let's be. For me, it's more like set the budget and stick to the budget. So that's the other thing too. If you're gonna hey, my spending limit is $400 or $200 or whatever it might be. Doing the things you just said, buying in bulk, going to the dollar store, doing Five Belows, doing any of those kind of things, stay within the budget itself. At least at the beginning.
Yeah. And one of the other things, and we're getting kind of close to the end, but one of the other things that I think we might do this year, each boy has an account with the county school system. Each boy has a money account that we put money into that they can use to buy lunches. Now, we make and send them with their lunch probably 4 or 5 school days of the year. So, maybe once or twice a week, once or twice a month, they may end up buying the school lunch. But I think what we're going to do, the problem that we ran into last year was they would buy and buy and buy and buy, and they'd say, Mom, we're out of money, and we'd say, okay, and we'd fund the account again, and they buy and buy and buy and buy. I think what we may try to do is say, look, we're at the beginning of the month, we're putting X amount of dollars in your school account. When that money's gone, that money's gone.
Yep.
You can't buy school lunch or snacks so what we found is we would pack their lunch. They wouldn't so if we packed them Doritos, they didn't like Doritos. They would want to buy Cheetos. So they would buy Cheetos at school, give the Doritos to a friend of theirs or trade it away or whatever. So I think what we might do is try to start teaching them about budgeting by saying, look, here's what you got. If you run out of this money at the end of the month, you're done.
A little catchphrase there. I was catching that.
There you go.
But no, I love the idea of including the kids. So we talked about how us as parents, but we need to include the kids in this exercise as well. Hey, we can't get all of the nice clothing or something like that, or the device. We may not be able to get the cell phone at this point, but maybe we can talk about it at mid-year and where we're at there.
Or if you get, straight A's, we'll get
exactly.
you. Yeah.
So, there has to be, but including them, I love the idea of, once again, there's still a budget, even with their lunch money, that once you get to that limit, that's it, you're done. So you're teaching them to be a little bit more strategic with how they spend their money.
Yeah.
Those Doritos are good, but I can't do it endlessly for the month.
Well, and it's funny because my wife is saying, we can't allow them to go hungry. First of all, we're sending them to school with food, first of all, so they're not going hungry. And second of all, if they happen to miss a bag of chips in the middle of the day,
I think they'll be fine.
They're not going to die of starvation. And I don't think the cops are going to show up at our door abuse.
But did you hear the comment though? It's like the kids are gonna go hungry. They're gonna starve.
No, they're not.
Till the end of day. We can justify any type of purchase, people. This is what we do to ourselves. If I don't get that latte, I'm gonna starve this morning.
If I don't get that latte, I won't be as focused in my day.
Guys, same lessons that we're trying to teach ourselves. We need to make sure we're making those types of lessons for our kids as well.
So anyway, as you listen to this, I think the day that this episode comes out will be the first day of school here in the Tampa Bay area. So hopefully, if you have kids in school, you are enjoying the quiet of back to school, the quiet of getting the kids out to the house, the quiet of the no hustle and bustle of summer camps.
And avoid those traffics now, because now traffic is going to be back again with school buses.
Exactly. If you got somewhere to be, budget to leave a little bit earlier, because you're going to be dealing with school zones in a couple of weeks. As you're listening to this episode on your way to work or wherever you're going, you might have to drive through a handful of school zones. So be careful there as well. So anything else?
No, I think as part of the after pod, maybe we'll throw in a few more tips.
Sure.
To kind of talk through that. But good luck to a new school year for all the kids out there and all the parents while we celebrate kicking them back into that building.
There you go. And so, definitely continue to visit all the social media channels.
Yes.
If you want to support us a little bit more, help us defer the cost of some of those back to school items. Check out the Patreon page.
Yeah,
Gosh,
you go.
words. I do this. I talk for a living. It's okay. Patreon page. Go check out the Patreon page. You can go to patreon.com/crushingdebt and check out the Patreon page, which is where you'll find the afterpod, which we're going to record as soon as this episode is over. But I think that'll do it for this week.
I think it's good. I think we did well.
So hopefully you take all of these tips and you can have more money at the end of the month rather than month at the end of the money. And we'll talk to you in next week's episode of the Crushing Debt Podcast.